There's a harsh truth that depth psychology has revealed about dysfunctional families. Someone is always chosen to carry blame that doesn't belong to them. And if you're watching this video, that someone is probably you. You're the one who always feels that no matter what you do, it's never enough. You're the one who carries the emotional burden of everyone around you, who blames yourself for problems you didn't create, who becomes the target when family tension explodes. Carl Jung, the pioneer of unconscious psychology, discovered something unsettling about family dynamics. They operate as psychic systems that require balance. And when that system is unwell, when it carries unresolved traumas, toxic parental complexes, and unintegrated shadows, it needs a repository for all that pain. That repository is the scapegoat. You were chosen not by chance, but by a precise and relentless psychological mechanism. Jung called this the projection of the family's collective shadow. The family, unable to face its own wounds, its own inadequacies, and its own failures, projects all of this onto a specific member. And that member, usually the most sensitive, the most empathetic, the most connected to emotional truth, becomes the mirror for everything the family rejects about itself. But what Jung discovered about this dynamic completely changes how you might view your own pain. Because the scapegoat isn't the weakest in the family. They are, in fact, the strongest. And today you're going to understand why. Pause now and observe your life. How many times have you been blamed for explosions you didn't cause? How many times have you felt like you were walking on eggshells, trying to maintain family peace, while everyone else around you could be exactly who they were? How many times have you swallowed your own needs, your own truths, your own pains, so as not to upset a system that already seemed so fragile? Observe how you learned to diminish yourself, how you developed the mask of the peacemaker, the blameworthy one, the problematic one, how you internalize the voice that tells you you're too much or not enough, that you are the problem, that if only you changed, everything would be fine. While you wear this mask, your true self suffocates. While you carry blame that isn't yours, your strength drains away to sustain others' illusion. While you accept being the repository of the family shadow, you deny yourself the right to exist fully. Feel that now? The anger you never allowed to be expressed, the sadness you swallowed so as not to bother anyone, the sense of injustice you've carried since childhood, without even knowing why. This pain you feel is not a flaw in you. It's the result of a psychological system that needs you in that role to continue functioning without transforming. Do you recognize this pain? It's because you were programmed by this pattern from a very young age. And today, you're going to understand exactly how it works, why you were chosen, and how to break this cycle once and for all. The family scapegoat is the unwilling guardian of the collective shadow. In Jungian terminology, the shadow represents everything that a person or a system rejects about itself, all the aspects it considers unacceptable, shameful, or dangerous. In a healthy family, each member integrates their own shadow, recognizes their own inadequacies, and works on their own growth. But in a dysfunctional family, this inner work is avoided at all costs. Imagine the family as a psychic organism that needs to maintain its self-image intact. When narcissistic, depressed, addicted, or traumatized parents cannot face their own wounds, they need a place to deposit all the pain they refuse to feel. That place is the scapegoat child. They become the receptacle for everything the family doesn't want to see about itself. Jung understood that this happens through an unconscious mechanism called projection. Parents project onto the child their own inadequacies, their own failures, their own unintegrated shadows. The child, especially when still small and emotionally dependent on that family to survive, accepts these projections as truths about themselves. They internalize the guilt, the shame, the feeling of being inadequate, problematic, or simply wrong. The dysfunctional family operates like a theater where everyone plays fixed roles to maintain the illusion of normalcy. There's the golden child, the one who receives all the admiration and positive expectations. There's the invisible one, the one who becomes transparent so as not to bother anyone. And there's the scapegoat, the one who carries all the negativity, all the blame, all the responsibility for family problems. This system is maintained because it allows all other members to avoid looking at their own wounds. The scapegoat is chosen precisely because they have the capacity to feel deeply, to perceive subtle dynamics, to pick up on the emotional energy of the environment. They are, paradoxically, the most connected to the family's psychological truth, and that's exactly why they become a threat that needs to be neutralized through guilt and shame. The first reason you will always be the scapegoat is because you feel too much. In a family system that survives through emotional denial, your sensitivity becomes a threat. You perceive the tensions everyone pretends don't exist. You feel the unexpressed anger, the hidden sadness, the fear disguised as control. Your very existence exposes the fragility of the family's denial system. As a child, you probably asked inconvenient questions, cried when something was wrong, or simply reacted emotionally to the toxic dynamics around you. This deeply bothered the adults because your honest emotional reaction reflected back to them the pain they were avoiding feeling. To silence this threat, they learned to invalidate your emotions, to make you feel guilty for feeling, to label you as oversensitive, dramatic, or problematic. The second reason is that you question the family narrative. The scapegoat is usually the one who, even unconsciously, refuses to accept the lies that keep the system running. You noticed when words didn't match actions. You felt when love was conditional. You observed when attention was unfairly distributed. Your simple questioning, even if silent, threatened the family's power structure. In dysfunctional families, there's an official narrative that everyone must accept. We are a normal family. We love each other. We don't have serious problems. Any member who questions this narrative, who points out contradictions, who refuses to participate in the collective fantasy, will be punished. And the most effective punishment is turning them into the problem, the one responsible for everything that's wrong. The third reason is that you serve as emotional relief for others. When family tension reaches a critical point, when parents need to release their frustration, anger, or inadequacy, you become the safe target. It's easier to yell at you than to face the real problems. It's simpler to blame you for family conflicts than to look at the toxic patterns between the adults. You became the emotional pressure release valve for the entire system. Jung would say that you are carrying the projected shadow of the entire family. Every time someone explodes at you, every time you are blamed for something you didn't do, every time your presence is treated as the problem, you are absorbing rejected aspects of the family psyche. You become the repository for all the anger, shame, fear, and inadequacy that others refuse to recognize in themselves. The fourth reason is that you threaten the established family hierarchy. In narcissistic or authoritarian systems, there is a rigid order that must be maintained. Parents are at the top. They are perfect, infallible, always right. Any behavior of yours that challenges this hierarchy, that shows their imperfections, that demands they be accountable for their actions, will be seen as an intolerable affront. You may have been punished simply for having needs, for crying when hurt, for expecting support when scared, for wanting attention when lonely. Your basic human needs were treated as impossible demands, as evidence that you were selfish, ungrateful, or problematic. This happened because your needs exposed your parents' inability to truly parent. The fifth reason, perhaps the deepest, is that you carry the ancestral wound of the family. The scapegoat is often chosen because they have the psychic strength to carry not only their own pain, but the pain of previous generations. You inherited the unresolved traumas, the unbroken patterns, the unintegrated shadows of the entire family lineage. Jung spoke about the collective unconscious, about how we carry in our psyche not only our own history, but the history of our ancestors. The scapegoat is frequently the one who inherits this burden, who feels the weight of traumas they didn't even directly experience. You were chosen because your soul has the capacity to process this ancestral pain, to bring it to consciousness, to potentially break it. The sixth reason is that you hold the key to family transformation. The dysfunctional family system maintains its balance through your participation in the scapegoat role. As long as you accept carrying the blame, absorbing the projections, and being the problem, everyone else can avoid their own inner work. You are simultaneously the victim and the pillar of the sick system. But here's the paradox Jung would have loved. You are also the only person in the family with the real power to break this pattern. Because you are the one who feels the pain most deeply, who sees the dynamics most clearly, who carries the wound most consciously. When you stop accepting the projections, when you refuse to carry blame that isn't yours, when you break the silence about the family truth, the entire system is forced to transform or disintegrate. The seventh and final reason is the most liberating. You were chosen because your soul came to heal. The scapegoat is not a cosmic accident. not a random victim of a cruel system. You are, in archetypal language, the wounded healer, the one who must descend into the depths of pain to find the gold of wisdom. Jung believed that our greatest wounds are also our greatest gifts. Your hypersensitivity, your capacity to feel the pain of others, your ability to perceive unconscious dynamics, your strength to carry extreme emotional weight, all these characteristics that made you the scapegoat are also the qualities that make you a potential healer, therapist, spiritual guide, or simply a deeply empathetic and wise person. You weren't chosen to suffer eternally. You were chosen to transform suffering into consciousness, pain into wisdom, wounds into strength. Your journey as a scapegoat is, in fact, your journey of individuation, the process by which you become who you truly are, beyond the roles your family imposed on you. Now that you understand the profound reasons why you were chosen for this role, the time has come to break the pattern. Transformation begins with recognition. You cannot change what you don't clearly see. Grab a journal and start mapping your personal history through this new lens. Write about the moments you were unjustly blamed. Recall situations where your emotions were invalidated, where your needs were treated as problems, where you felt responsible for the emotional stability of the entire family. Don't write to blame or to victimize yourself. Write to bear witness, to honor your own experience, to validate the inner child whose truth was never acknowledged. Practice dialogue with that wounded child who still lives inside you. Ask them, what did you need that you never received? What truths did you know that no one wanted to hear? How did you feel carrying all that weight? Listen to the answers without judgment. Offer that child the validation and recognition they always deserved. Start identifying when you are carrying emotions that aren't yours. Learn the difference between your genuine pain and the projected pain you absorbed from others. When you feel disproportionate guilt, when you find yourself taking responsibility for problems you didn't create, stop and ask, is this truly mine? Or am I carrying something that belongs to someone else? Practice returning the projections. When someone tries to place responsibility on you for their own emotions, their own choices, their own failures, take a deep breath and mentally return that energy to its rightful owner. You can do this energetically, visualizing yourself releasing the weight that isn't yours. Or you can do it verbally, setting clear boundaries about what you are and are not willing to carry. Develop your capacity to feel without absorbing. Your sensitivity is a gift, not a curse, but you need to learn to use that gift without getting lost in it. Practice being present with others' pain without becoming responsible for healing it. Learn to offer compassion without sacrificing your own vital energy. Reconnect with your sacred anger. The scapegoat learns early on to suppress their anger, because expressing anger means being labeled as problematic. But your anger is your life force, your capacity to say no, to set boundaries, to protect yourself. Honor that anger. Use it not to destroy but to build healthy boundaries and to defend your own truth. You are now the observer of your own story. You are no longer the unconscious scapegoat who accepts carrying the world's blame. You are the conscious hero of your own healing journey. You are the one who had the courage to look at the family's shadow and recognize it wasn't yours. Your sensitivity is not a flaw, it's your strength. Your capacity to feel deeply is your superpower. Your ability to perceive unconscious dynamics is your wisdom. You weren't born to be the repository of family pain. You were born to be the one who transforms that pain into consciousness, into healing, into liberation. The ancestral pattern of pain stops here. You are the link that breaks the chain. You are the one who refuses to pass on what you received. You are the generation that chooses to heal instead of perpetuate. Comment which of these 7 reasons impacted you the most. Which one resonated most with your own story? Like this video if you felt the courage to look at this truth without turning away. Subscribe to continue this journey of liberation from the scapegoat role. You are no longer carrying the family's cross. You are carrying the torch of transformation. The journey is just beginning. Integrate.